Coming up on today's episode of DLLS Mavs, is P.J. Washington ready for a breakout season? Plus, we go around the Mavs and get you ready for the season with our player previews. That's all coming up today on this episode of DLLS Mavs. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside with Mavericks insider Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella, and our national and Mavericks NBA insider Mark Stein. We are DLLS Mavs. You can find me on X at Kevin Gray Sports, Tim at Tim_Cato, Bobby at Bobby Carella, and of course, you can always dial up the Stein line at the Stein line on X. We appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports right now. Smash that like button if you're watching with us here today. Gentlemen, what's going on? Good to see you on a Monday. How we feeling?
Feeling great, Kevin. Feeling great. Scott Hansen is back in my life. All is right with the world.
Shout out to NFL Red Zone. That
Puka
was so
Nacua
glorious.
got injured, though. So
That's
how
a tough
good
one.
of a day can it really be on this Monday?
That's a tough
The
one.
Cowboys won, so it's a good day around here. That's for sure.
Oh, that's true.
The Cowboys won for sure.
What
What's
if
up,
you're
Mark?
what if you're a Bills fan who resides in DFW?
The Bills won, so it's a good day for you too.
It is, but I'm just saying that
Yeah, let's be
not all of
inclusive here.
us not all of us judge our Monday on how the Cowboys fared.
So you judged your Monday on the fact that Josh Allen and the Bills got it done?
Yeah, because for my son, life pretty much starts and ends with Josh Allen. So
Oh, okay.
Is your son Dave Maurer? That's
No.
a deep cut joke.
That's a deep
If you're a
joke
Mavericks
for
fan, you
us.
know about that one. That's a
That's
good
a
shout out
joke
to
for
Dave,
us.
man. We
Yeah.
miss
Buffalo
Dave.
Dave,
Yeah.
as I refer to him.
Yeah, shout out to Dave, man. Good guy. But yeah, it was a great NFL weekend for Cowboys fans or Bills fans, but also a lot of news this weekend made about your Dallas Mavericks. Got plenty to get into on today's show. P.J. Washington had his youth camp this weekend. Had a chance to talk with him for a few minutes on what he's been working on this upcoming season. Also, we get into our season player previews today as well. And we're going to start with one of the centers for your Dallas Mavericks. And later on, we're going to go around the Mavs to get you the latest updates on what's going on, including Dereck Lively, who was working out in Duke with his former Duke Blue Devils. But as we kick off today's show, gentlemen, P.J. Washington had his youth camp this weekend in downtown Dallas. Had the chance to spend some time with him. Before we get into actually anything that he said this weekend, how are you guys feeling about P.J. Washington coming into this upcoming season before we get to some of the things he actually had to say about what he's working on this upcoming season?
It's a good season for him. You know,
Yeah.
like this is a a chance for him to build on what was a stellar debut. You know, he was for Dallas to look like that after the trade deadlines, for P.J. Washington to come in here and be that guy. You saw that he was a good player, and you saw that there probably is a little bit he can add on to what he showed last season, and that's exciting.
Yeah, when I said it, he's got probably the most to gain of any player on the team this year. Going into extension eligibility coming up here pretty quickly for him, entering the prime of his career, or at least very close to it, and he's sort of the unquestioned starting four. There's really nobody else in the roster that could push for his minutes at all. And so, that's a big opportunity for him, but also with that comes really big expectations.
What I'm feeling good about is, I believe the last time I sat in this chair last week, I think I announced to the audience, to the world, that Kevin Gray is our official P.J. Washington beat writer.
You did actually say that.
Our foremost P.J. Washington expert. You knew he was having a camp appearance on Saturday. I did not know that. You, of course, got some time to catch up with him and talk to him. So I think basically my first P.J. Washington projection of the season has already come true, because we got PJ Washington sound on the way because K. Gray knew where to find him.
Yeah.
So
he wasn't back in Dallas for 5 minutes, and Kevin Gray found him.
What you're saying, Mark, is that Kevin shouldn't be asking us about PJ.
Yeah, we should be
asking you.
This should just be a 15-minute soliloquy from you.
Oh, no. No Stephen A. Smith here today. But we will hear from PJ Washington. In fact, Tanner, cue up for me the idea of PJ Washington. I asked him, what was he working on this summer as he gets ready for this upcoming season? Take a listen to what he had to say.
What's some of the things you've worked on in your game this summer to get you ready for this upcoming year?
My ball handling, being able to rebound the ball, just push, and just be another outlet. Being able to shoot off the dribbles. Pretty much everything. Working on finishing more through contact. Just trying to be a better three-level scorer and be a better playmaker.
So PJ talking about becoming a better playmaker, getting to be a better rebounder, pushing the ball in transition as well. Some of the things that PJ has been working on this upcoming season. When you hear that from him, what is your initial reaction to hearing what PJ's been working on and what he's trying to improve on this upcoming year?
Maybe he's PG Washington now.
Oh, wow.
Point guard.
Wow.
You know, maybe he's coming for Luka's job.
PJ the playmaker.
Yeah. You know, you can't be too sure. I think that's great. You know, I think that having, you know, Dallas is they're probably going to fall in pace. They're probably not going to quite run as fast as they did last season. It would be a challenge, and it would be very impressive if they're able to maintain that, because Derrick Jones was a big part of that. But having one more guy who can get the ball and get down the court, like, you're going to need to create more opportunities without Derrick Jones, without having those over-the-top touchdown passes from Luka to Jones. You're going to have to create some opportunities. You're going to have to really be dedicated to getting out and running. And if PJ can do some of that for Dallas, like, that is the type of thing that would really go a long ways to being able to replicate that same pace that Dallas really showed and successfully last season.
Yeah, Josh Green was a one-man fast break too.
Yeah.
You know, varying degrees of success, obviously, with him and Jones' ball handling, but certainly in the open floor, they were just very, very impactful players. One thing, you know, I don't necessarily think that PJ can replicate their athleticism, quickness, finishing ability, and all that stuff, but one thing that he can do, get the rebound. Instead of taking 3 seconds, where's Luka? Let me find Luka. Come here, please. Oh, all right, hand off the ball. Now you're in your offense by the time he gets it across midcourt with like 14 seconds left in the shot clock. If Washington gets the rebound, pushes it up the floor, you can flow directly into dribble handoffs for Kyrie, dribble handoffs for Klay, dribble handoffs for Luka. So you can get into secondary break offense reasonably early in the shot clock. It might not be a fast break, but you're still going to get an early look, which is really important because the later you get in the shot clock, generally the lower quality looks you're going to find.
I would say I think the lack of trusty dribblers was a concern last season.
Yeah.
And so if PJ can add that to his game, and you're never going to begrudge someone for trying to expand their game, grow their game, add a skill, I would just say I think they addressed that somewhat with the return of Spencer Dinwiddie, and the Mavericks will be counting on PJ Washington much more at the other end. They need him to really take a step forward as a defender. We remember the day he got here, and Nico Harrison at the press conference basically said that PJ Washington can be a much better defender in Dallas than he was in Charlotte.
Made the challenge to him, yeah.
I think he showed it in his first half season and playoff run here. But they probably need even more from him defensively this forthcoming season. I mean, really, he and Lively will be asked to do a lot in that starting lineup on defense. So, like I said, great to hear that he's trying to become more of a playmaker. Don't know that would be at the top of the Mavs list of areas that he needs to.
Is there any scenario where he's not a starter at some point this season?
No. I mean, if he's hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument, or you know, you got to squint and look at the roster and think that maybe Najee fits a little bit better in there sometimes. I don't think that's the right move. I think the bigger
so I guess
question,
it really would. It's PJ or Klay. One of those two would have to go to the bench.
Right.
And neither one is a comfortable move for Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would take a lot to kind of get to that point.
But you're right. I mean, there is a case that Najee Marshall should be considered.
Or sometimes
for
Quentin
the starting
Grimes,
lineup.
you know, if Quentin Grimes is everything that we kind of think he could be, you know, that's the type of guard defender, you know, who still offers a lot of shooting, a lot of, you know, additional skills. This starting lineup is just going to be fascinating. It's the biggest curiosity about how it plays out. And I agree, like, it doesn't seem, I don't think it's something that would change. It would take a lot. It would take a lot of building up to a change if a change is needed. And maybe it works great. And maybe
we
they
keep
can just
talking
work
about
around
even
it.
beyond the starting lineup, just getting enough minutes for all these guys.
All the guys, yeah.
There
That's
are
how deep the
going
team
to
is.
be 2, 3, 4 guys who are probably not thrilled with their minute allocation.
Yeah.
I mean, but sometimes it's going to be good for, in terms of the depth. A guy may need a night off or two to be able to recover. The amount of depth that this team does have, there's some flexibility to be able to utilize certain guys in certain positions. P.J. Washington, though, he feels like he's going to be one of those workhorses on this team this year on both ends of the floor, especially as Mark detailed, on the defensive end, that's going to be counted upon to really have an impact on that end of the floor. And speaking of the depth in the team itself, PJ had a chance to ask him as well about Mark's report. Of course, the team working out in Los Angeles, all the guys getting a chance to get together, except for obviously Luka Doncic and Dwight Powell, but asking PJ about what was that like for the team to be able to work out in Los Angeles. Here's what he told me.
What was that bonding time like for you guys out in Los Angeles, being able to get together and work out with the guys in the team there?
It was great. Not a lot of teams get to do stuff like that, and that was, I think, my first time doing that. So just to be able to be with those guys in that time has been great. And like I said, I'm just super excited. That's all I've been thinking about every day. I've been watching Mavs highlights, just trying to get myself ready. So I just can't wait.
How are you feeling physically after the summer?
I'm great. I feel like I'm in good shape. Been working on a lot of things, so I'm excited to get out there.
So PJ Washington saying, look, it's great that we had a chance to actually work out together. Not a lot of teams are able to get as many guys together as they do. And for this team, I think that's part of the chemistry building that this whole team will now have as a full offseason together. PJ Washington enjoying his time working out with the team to be able to get ready for this upcoming season.
Before we proceed, what is the fine for Cato for not pre-watching the clips in the group chat?
A whole
It's
segment that he'll have to run.
Less than what we fined you last week.
Touche.
Did I not?
Touche.
I guess I didn't. What
Touche.
clip didn't I watch?
Man, you don't even remember what you didn't watch.
Exactly.
No.
Mark trying to talk
No,
Terrence.
I do remember there was a clip I didn't
Dereck
watch because I
Lively.
said I couldn't hear the audio, but I just don't remember.
Yeah, Lively and Pinson talking about Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
See, Mark trying
Okay,
to
well,
go
I'm
over on
old.
Tim. See how that worked out
I'm
for him?
old,
See how that worked out
but
for
I'm
him?
old. I'm beyond fines. Tim.
Oh, not beyond fines.
Tim is a tech savvy youngster. He should have watched these clips first.
It just takes 1 minute. It takes 1 minute. That was a 25-second clip.
I know, and I just watched it. It was a lovely clip.
Touche.
Well, I like the part when PJ seems excited to play with his new teammates.
Full training camp together they'll have this year.
Yeah, and it's important to get to know each other and all that stuff socially off the floor. Obviously, that matters a lot, but
Is the clear outright glee from PJ in that interview because of how he feels about the team, or just because he's back with Kevin Gray?
probably because he's talking to Kevin.
I think.
But
I think
that
it's
or
just
he's
he's
just
talking
not
to
in
Kevin.
Charlotte
He also
anymore.
did say, I've been watching Mavs highlights. PJ Washington is just like us.
that sounded
just
very
like us.
Bobby-esque. I've been watching Mavs highlights in my spare time.
Although I
did a-
wouldn't call it highlights. I would call it film, game tape.
Work for you.
Yeah, I'm in the
Exactly.
lab.
I did a story. I did a story once on whether NBA players watch their own highlights, and I think my favorite answer. I got a lot
didn't
of
read it.
answers.
Oh,
It was a
wow.
good
What it
story.
was?
It was a good story, but I think my favorite answer was Jamal Crawford said he has so many moves that he has to go back and watch himself, and he'll remember, he'll see himself do a move, and he's like, "Oh, I forgot I used to do this.
wow.
Maybe I should bring it back."
Bag is so deep, even he gets lost inside of it.
Truly. That was probably my favorite answer.
Wow.
But yeah, a slew of responses. Some people are like, I don't want to watch myself outside of film, outside of when I have to. And some of them kind of do it for the confidence boost, and some of them just like the flex, just pop it on when you're hanging out with friends, and it's like, yeah, that's me.
I
that means it goes back
I
to
don't
more-
go back and rewatch film of my best moments. I just like to stay humble.
I'm surprised you don't go back and rewatch, the shows themselves to see what you may or may not have done, right for that particular show.
Next
break
play
down
mentality.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You just move on to the next
Yep.
the next show, huh?
I know we will have made it with the show. We've already made it. But when
wow,
people
really?
start doing highlight packages of us,
Taylor's already started on that when it comes
Yeah.
to you and ad reads, so don't even
Yeah.
worry about that.
Yeah, speaking of.
Coming up in just a moment, we will get into our player season previews. We're going to start with one of the two centers for your Dallas Mavericks. You got to stick around to find out which center that is. And a little bit later on, we'll go around the Mavs to get the latest on some of your favorite Mavericks, including Dereck Lively, who is back at home in Cameron Indoor working out with his former Duke Blue Devils. But before we get there, let me talk to you about Sleeper. I got some ball knowers on set with me here at DLLS Sports in the headquarters. But are you a ball knower? Because I'm calling you as a ball knower to join and get on the Sleeper app, the net app that you've known for hosting the best fantasy football leagues in the game. Now allows you to put your knowledge to the test in every game by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less in their projected stats each week. This week, Cowboys taking on the Saints in week 2, looking to go 2-0 and 1-0 at AT&T Stadium. I'm projected to see Dak Prescott have more than 200 passing yards and also CeeDee Lamb more than 50 receiving yards this week against the Saints. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. If you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app and use code DLLS Mavs to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
So Kevin, the Cowboys extended Dak Prescott yesterday. Pretty important news. I'm pretty sure DLLS Cowboys was talking all about it.
All over it.
If they hadn't done that, I might have suggested Indeed.
Oh,
because
that's
Indeed is
good.
driven by the search for better. When it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. The Cowboys were possibly looking like they might need to go find a quarterback. And
They wouldn't have
could've,
found one. That's
because
for damn
Indeed
sure.
is no. I think on Indeed they could have, because Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find a quality candidate fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so that you can connect with your candidates faster. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Appreciate you, Tim. Coming up here in about 13 minutes, we'll go around the Mavs, get to the latest news and notes on your Dallas Mavs. But right now, we're going to be getting you ready for our season player previews. Throughout the next several weeks, we're going to be having several players that we're going to be discussing here on the show as we get you ready for
15 of them, I think.
All 15 of them.
Yeah.
That's right. That's a good number. For the Mavericks this upcoming year, we'll go through each of those player profiles each and every day here on DLLS Mavs. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching right now, and do so by hitting that like button. Today, gentlemen, we're going to start with the center group, and particularly one of the two centers for your Dallas Mavericks, Bobby, and we're going to start with Daniel Gafford, the former Arkansas product, who, of course, came over to the Mavericks last year in the trade deadline, had a big impact on this team, especially defensively. Looking forward to his first full season with the Mavericks this year.
Dan the Man, Big Gafford, 11.2 points, 7 rebounds a game, almost 2 blocks a game. Shot 78% from the field after joining the Mavs, including a stretch where he hit, I think, 2,000 straight shots
Almost,
at one point.
just about.
It was more than that.
He's going to turn 26 before opening night. 2 years, about $27 million left on his deal. Now, in the playoffs, his numbers dropped a little bit. 9 points, 5.5 boards. Did have a really, really big Game 3 in the Western Conference Finals against Minnesota. But as the playoffs went on, it kind of became clear that maybe the Mavs' best center was the one that was coming off the bench. So as we go into Gafford's discussion here, I think, maybe talk about some good stuff that he did and maybe what his role is going to look like moving forward.
He's a really good player for Dallas to have, just having the ability to do, have 48 minutes of this type of center next to Luka, pairing with Luka. I always describe these centers as extensions of Luka. He uses them to create basketball art and basketball magic. And that's, I think with Gafford, you definitely saw that. What really stood out to me is just he is so athletically, physically dominant. If you're going up, if the opponent just cannot match that, if you're playing a Chicago, a Detroit, a team like that, and he did last season, I believe. I don't know, just lost it, but it was 7 of 7 and 9 of 9 in those 2 games, two games against Detroit and Chicago. He just destroys them. This is something that he is. If you do not have a center that can physically match up with him, Luka is going to, run pick and rolls to death. It should just continue, the success Dallas had beating bad teams last season. He should be a pivotal part of that.
Well, I think Luka and Gafford clicked to such a degree that Slovenia's national team immediately tried to convince Daniel Gafford to acquire a passport to join the national team.
I also
this
heard
summer.
about this. Yeah.
Now Daniel Gafford,
It was Luka's dad's idea.
It didn't work out this summer
Yeah.
because Daniel Gafford wasn't free. Don't be surprised though if that happens in the future, where we see, because in FIBA competition, teams can naturalize one player, and we've seen Slovenia do it with American players in the past. Mike Tobey, this summer it was Josh Nebo. So that's how well it went for Gafford. That's how quickly he established himself in Dallas. But I think this season he will be coming off the bench. I think we all expect Dereck Lively to be the starter. The playoffs, there was some concern. He wasn't nearly as effective as he was. I mean, how could he be? You said the number, and it's like he shot 78%, 72% from the field for the season.
Right.
78% from the field as a Maverick in the 20-odd regular season games he played as a Mav. Even if those are all at the rim, still a damn good percentage that anybody would want to take.
I love that comment. Daniel will soon be Slovenian. Thank you, Patrick.
I can't read that comment. Where is it?
Oh, put it back
You
up.
put it back. He'll put it back. There you go. Daniel
okay.
still being Slovenia.
Great comment. Great comment.
So, great first season, great start, but will I would expect move into a reserve role this season, and that I think that's probably the better place. I mean, I think probably the most encouraging thing is just seeing how well he and Dereck Lively get along. Like again, when there's pictures circulating last week about workouts in Arkansas, they're together. Like these guys are theoretically competing for the same starting spot. And just last year, Gafford shows up, moves into the starting lineup. Lively embraces the bench role with no issues. And now this season, these guys are still hanging out all summer when it's expected that Lively is going to move into the starting lineup and Gafford would move into a reserve role. And these guys are still always together. So I think that might be as encouraging as anything.
Yeah.
Something like 28-20, as a minute split as a platoon. People are going to be hurt, like
That's about what it was in the playoffs.
Yeah. And
He played 20.2.
And I could see it being a sliding scale where Gafford plays more when he's just feasting against a bad team, whereas you're going up against a Indianapolis or somebody with a
Colts.
Indiana. Why did I say Indianapolis?
I don't know.
You're so in football.
You are in football.
man,
You joined one fantasy league, and all of a
Indianapolis
sudden
had
a basketball team. I know Indiana. The
But
Pacers.
yeah,
Man, are they going to rematch against New England in the finals this year?
Oh, good one. There you go.
But if you're playing up, you're playing against a stretch five, a stretch big man. That's a situation where the sliding scale may be 35 minutes to Dereck Lively. But there's a lot of flexibility here. You have options. That's important.
Yeah, and I agree that for that reason and many others, I think he's better as the backup. Lively gives you more versatility on defense, and also if the shooting thing is a real thing, maybe a little more versatility on offense.
Offense for sure, yeah.
But
Not
it
talking about
really
him yet.
was impressive to see him and Luka develop such good chemistry in the pick and roll, because there have been many big men that have come through this organization in the Luka era that should have been just as good in the pick and roll as Gafford was and weren't. That are maybe more athletic or taller or stronger or bigger or whatever, faster, that just could not figure it out. It's a timing thing. It's an anticipation thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a go get the dang ball and finish it thing. There certainly is a lot of skill when it comes to finishing around the rim too that some guys have really struggled with. But,
Yeah, he's just an
it was
awesome
just instant.
finisher.
Yeah,
was
he's a
instant.
fantastic finisher
Yeah.
at the rim.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why Dwight was so entrenched in the starting lineup for so long, because none of these other big men could figure it out for one reason or another. They just couldn't get it down. But it took Gafford like half a quarter against the Thunder in his team debut, and it was just you never had to worry about it ever again.
And I agree. Like there's a few big men that have come through that are a little bit more athletic than him, but this guy is a crazy athlete.
yeah, he's a jumbo
like,
athlete. Jumbo athlete.
I'm trying to think back like.
But he's
Brandon
only
Wright,
6'9", 6'10", but he
yeah,
plays like
he's
7
much
foot.
bigger than that,
smaller
for sure.
than you would
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I think he's also. I wouldn't say he's a better rim protector than Dereck Lively, but he certainly is going to get more blocks.
He's makes more of those splash blocks.
He
for
does.
sure.
He
yes.
chases blocks. a little.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yes.
he goes for them too
Right.
much.
Yes.
I think you could make the case.
Yeah, he probably a touch, but sometimes the splash block is what gets you back into the game.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes it's the momentum. It has the entire, American Airlines Center, going off.
Yeah, I mean, he had some blocks in the Wolves series. I mean, the one in Minnesota where he blocked it and then gets the Hail Mary to the other end, and then the one
the falling down scoop.
Yes, layup, yeah.
And then the one in Dallas in Game 3 kind of sealed the game before his alley-oop, which was just, God, that's one of the coolest plays in franchise history, throwing it down on Gobert like that. But, yeah.
I think one of the things I appreciated most about Daniel Gafford and his approach coming to this team last year, and similarly to P.J. Washington, both these guys got out of bad situations in Charlotte and in Washington. And for Gafford, just talking to him throughout the course of the year, he was just grateful to be in a situation where there was a vision and a plan for him, much like for P.J. Washington coming over from Charlotte. The Mavericks seemed like they had a vision and a plan for both of these players. We're obviously talking about Daniel Gafford here and what they knew that they could be within this offense and defensively as well. It does, I think, a lot for a player's confidence to know that, hey, there's a plan in place for me to be able to contribute. I could sacrifice being a starter in lieu of knowing what I can contribute to this team on a consistent night-to-night basis. I think Gafford fell into that perfectly, given the fact that they were trying to figure out between Lively and Gafford who was going to be that starting center. Gafford was able to appreciate his role and take it and be able to run with it throughout the course of the year and also be able to contribute in the playoffs as well.
He was a starter on the Washington Wizards. Would you rather be a starter on the Wizards or a backup on a team that just went to the finals?
Well, there was pressure on him last season, and he, I think, especially in the regular season, he lived up to it because they gave up a lot to get him. I mean, they gave up a first to get him. Remember, Washington was not able to generate an outright first-round pick when they traded Porzingis. They had no leverage in that situation. Porzingis was about to head to free agency. But also when they traded Bradley Beal to Phoenix, they were not able to get an outright first in either of those two. Yeah. So it's like,
That's
now
really
at
tough.
the trade deadline, it was really the Mavericks who were on the desperate side. So Washington did have the leverage to extract a first rounder. Remember, the Mavs had to make a deal with OKC to manufacture the extra first rounder to get Gafford because they committed the only other tradable first rounder they had. They committed that in the deal to get PJ Washington. So, Gafford, they had to get production from Gafford if you're going to give up what they gave up to get him because, OKC, I mean, that was a sneaky good deal for OKC if the Mavericks were to unravel, that would be a very valuable pick. But Gafford made a great year one impact. He and Lively are a great two-headed monster, and it worked.
And even if he does come off the bench for the entire season, right? Lively starts all 82. Luka plays so much with the second unit that it's going to be a lot of Luka and Gafford for the final 6 minutes of the first quarter, the final 6 minutes of the third quarter. They're going to be making music together. So I would think Gafford's per minute stuff probably won't drop at all. His per game stuff might not even drop because he's going to be just destroying backups all year.
If he stays out of foul trouble, that tandem with Lively and Gafford will be lethal all season. I think that's one of the big questions about Gafford too is can he stay out of foul trouble to have that kind of impact that we're talking about, especially with him and Luka sharing the floor together. If that's the case, they're going to share a lot of good minutes together and really put pressure on opposing defenses because of the amount of rim running that the both of them, we're talking about Gafford specifically in this case, can do. That should make this offense, as we talked about before, one of the most efficient offenses, maybe the most efficient that we've ever seen. Is going to take contributions from Gafford to do that.
And you got defenders staying home on Klay, staying
Yes.
home on Grimes, maybe staying home on Najee Marshall if he can prove it. There's going to be maybe even more opportunities around the rim for them this year.
Complete no context, but just shout out to the Olympian Dwight Powell.
I love Dwight Powell.
He hasn't been mentioned enough in this segment.
I
So just
love Dwight Powell.
For no reason. Shout out Dwight Powell.
Mark, you will never, ever, ever in your life hear me say a bad thing about Dwight Powell. Ever. I think it's important that you know that about me.
I'm gonna trick Bobby into saying a bad thing about Dwight Powell.
No, you're
it's
not.
gonna happen.
I've been
gonna
tested
find
for
a way.
years, Tim. I've been training for this my whole life. All right,
gonna
I'm a Dwight
find a
Powell
way.
day oneer.
Tanner, just clip this.
Tanner's
We'll
like,
have
got it.
Evan-
Don't worry
we'll
about it.
have
He's
Evan
gonna take care of
when I
it.
succeed.
Try me.
Well,
Bobby's
I'm not gonna
that's
do
a
it right
challenge
now.
for him.
I'm
I am-
now expecting
I'm
it.
donning Kevlar. All right?
Wow. Okay. All right, Batman. Good
I'm
for
gonna,
you.
I'm
Okay.
gonna
All right.
find,
The senior
I'm gonna
Mav,
find
Dwight
something.
Powell.
That's right.
Yeah.
He could run for president at some point. He might.
Dwight
be.
Powell, come on, DLLS Mavs.
Hey, that'd be cool. Get more players on here. Shout out to Dwight Powell. Coming up here in
after
just
Omax. After
Yeah.
Omax.
after Omax. That's right. Omax is gonna be
let's
first.
have a combo show.
Omax and Dwight Powell.
Oh, yeah.
So we're kicking you and whomever off the set.
Well, I got to be.
No, you no.
Cato and I will be
Yeah.
excommunicated.
For Omax and Dwight Powell. Okay,
Works
got
for
it.
me.
Well, that works. Coming up next here on DLLS Mavs. I was about to say something completely different. That's not this show. at all. Somewhere else on the brain.
Or this network.
Exactly. We're going to go around the Mavs. Dereck Lively had a chance to be working out in Duke this past weekend. We'll catch up and see what he was working on as well. But before we get there, Tim. Nope, not Tim.
Get it
Bobby, tell me about Shady Rays. This is the part where I just leave the show at this point. Talk to me about Shady Rays, Bobby.
Anytime you're around the Mavs, you got to be wearing sunglasses because, man, their future is bright. And you can get ready for their season ahead with quality shades built to last from our friends at Shady Rays, where they've got you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. More than 300,000 people have given them a 5-star review. And I just ordered a couple pairs myself. I cannot wait to get them so that I can add my own 5-star review. But wait, all right? You can find 1,000 different people that are going to sell you sunglasses, and you might be able to find some that, for example, are in your team's favorite colors. You might be able to find some that are perfect at blocking the sun or that fit your face great, but you might lose them, right? They might break. They might get damaged if you're spending time outside, and that's a huge bummer unless you purchase shades from Shady Rays because they have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every single pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. And heck, if you buy a pair and you don't like them, you can exchange it worry-free within 30 days. There is no risk when you shop. Their team at Shady Rays always has your back with personal and fast support. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com. Use code DLLS. Save yourself 35% off polarized sunglasses. Again, that is shadyrays.com. Promo code DLLS and join the crew. And then you can look at the Mavs safely and their bright future without hurting your eyes.
And after you get your pair of great Shady Rays, you got to get some cool apparel to go with that as well. That's where Foco comes in. Get fitted in the best sports gear around. Hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything else in between. If you're going to a basketball game or a hockey game, you can show off your love for your favorite team with some nice team-branded friendship bracelets as well. Whether it's jackets, beachwear, or even overalls, there is something for fans for almost every occasion.
I'm on Foco.com right now. Do you know they sell nutcrackers? This is crazy.
Let's go.
Tanner, you know what to do. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I think we need to get a Dallas Mavericks
you're done,
nutcracker.
Tim. You're also done. There's a lot of cool set decorations that we've got here as well. Foco has donated a few awesome pieces for our sets. Go show them some love as well. Check out Foco.com or click the link in the description. Tim, stop. In the description below for all non-presale items, use the promo code DLLS10 for 10% off today. Shout out to Foco. Tanner, you got your drop for the day. You're welcome. Coming up right now, we're going to go around the Mavs. Some Mavericks making some news this weekend. We talked about P.J. Washington a little bit earlier. There was also some news that dropped, of course, with Markieff Morris signing with the Dallas Mavericks. Our guy, Mark Stein, was all over that, of course, throughout the offseason. If you're following him at the Stein line, which you should be doing at this point, and of course, you'll see him every 4 times a week here on DLLS Mavs as well. Gentlemen, Mark, I'll start with you. Obviously, the reaction with Markieff Morris re-signing with the Dallas Mavericks for this upcoming year.
Yeah, look, we're waiting still for the team to officially announce it, but I don't think there was, as we've covered, I can't remember how many times we've talked about it just in our first 2+ weeks, and I feel like I've been writing about this since July.
Yes.
He is going to be on the team. There is zero doubt about it. The only question remains, functionally, how do you create the extra roster spot? Markieff Morris had a huge locker room presence on this team last year. Kyrie Irving loves him, and Luka Doncic loves him. And when that's all you have to say. You're he's back. Whether Markieff Morris spends another minute on the court, just by virtue of those two statements, he was always going to be back. But again, the question is, how do you make room for him? And at this point, I would say the most likely scenario that you can see is that they would have to return A.J. Lawson to 2-way contract status. Last season, remember, they converted A.J. Lawson to a standard NBA contract. But the way that works by league rules, they would have to actually waive Lawson, let him clear waivers, and then re-sign him on a 2-way deal if indeed they want to keep him at least on a 2-way contract. So, look, these are decisions that don't have to be made today, tomorrow, last weekend, next weekend. The Mavericks, the rules state in the NBA now, you can bring 21 players to camp. And so that's what I think the Mavs probably will do. Let camp play out and then figure out the roster moves they have to make when you have to make them right before the regular season starts. It's not something that they have to do today.
Markieff is he's the king of the bump. And the bump is what Jared Dudley calls their scrimmage game, their pickup game after practices for players who were not, have not been involved, have not been playing heavy minutes. So you've got roster spots, 8, 9, 10, 11, through 15. They're all hopping in there. Sometimes you have assistant coaches, stuff like that. But Markieff is on it. Markieff is leading, and not literally leading, but I guess in some ways, like he's drafting his team. He's keeping spirits high. And he I think that goes a ways to just kind of show who he was. What he meant to this team. That he's always showing up in these circumstances and these settings, and making sure that the young players are engaged. So yeah, really, really valuable guy to have around the team. Agreed. I don't know if he plays a single competitive minute this season. That's not why he's here. He does bring a lot of value to the Mavericks.
I don't know how much stuff or how much of this was shown on camera, or how many times during a playoff game they cut to this, but he was always standing up on the sideline, calling guys over during free throws or whatever. Like, he is kind of an extension of the coaching staff, not only in the locker room, but just during games. He's a big talker. And not like just like a raw, hey, good job. Like, hey, they're doing this, do that instead.
And really, every team in the league wants a vet like this, but it's not easy to find. We just saw Cleveland. They did a deal with Tristan Thompson for much the same reason. Tristan Thompson is not going to play any sort of significant role on a Cavaliers team that has the front line that they have with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. But it's like, teams want that been around the block vet who can talk to everybody on the team, speak openly, and speak in a way that coaches frankly can't. It just hits different when it comes from a vet. And there are not 30 of these kind of players, but there are 30 teams that want to have that role filled if they can. And it's trickier. It's trickier than it sounds.
Yeah, and like Dwight Powell is a veteran leader, but he's a different type of veteran leader than the way that Markieff portrays himself. Markieff, been on way more teams. Just different personality.
Played with
and style.
LeBron, like won a title.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a different kind of.
Yeah, just a totally different type of player, and serves a different role. I think in that locker room, that's really important.
By the way, that's a hell of a career arc for Tristan Thompson to go from what he was as a player to now being like veteran leader guy in a locker room for a team that's got as much star power as it does with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Speaking of star power, a lot of star power this weekend in New York as the Aces and the Liberty were taking on each other in the WNBA this past weekend. Great game between those two, by the way. Klay Thompson showing some love to Jonquel Jones, former WNBA MVP as well, of course, of Bahamian descent as well. So there was support there, but also saw a nice little viral moment between Klay Thompson, Dereck Lively, and Stephen Curry. You see Klay Thompson and Dereck Lively, chatting it up with all big smiles and stuff. And here comes Stephen Curry walking in between them with the hell, ew, that kind of thing, because he's not feeling the interaction. Yes, I did the whole interaction.
Sounds just like him.
Well, that's what it sounded like, because he wasn't too, thrilled. It was jokingly, obviously, but it just shows you that, hey, Lively, Klay Thompson hanging out together in New York. By the way, Mark's got his U.S. Open shirt on. Dereck Lively was also hanging out at the U.S. Open this past weekend as well in Flushing Meadows. So
first Open I've missed in a long time.
Oh, really?
Very, very difficult. More than a decade that I wasn't there. So.
Well, Lively and Klay Thompson were trying to make up for it for you by being out there in Flushing Meadows this past weekend.
And actually, this is probably a good place to do it. Shout out to Jessie Pegula, finalist on the women's side. It was January when Jessie Pegula was making a coaching change, and she very quietly came to Dallas for some workouts. Of course, because Dirk Nowitzki is Mr. Tennis, Dirk was party to all this, and there was she actually came out to a Mavs game, and Dirk was kind enough to let me sneak up there for just a little bit, and we were both just nerding out and asking her. She wanted to just watch the Mavs game and enjoy an NBA game, and we were just tennis nerding out, asking her 9 bazillion tennis tour questions. So thank you to her for putting up with my. It was very Kerala-esque, just like asking her all kinds of.
How do you slice your backhand? How
it
do you hit your forehand?
It was worse than that. It was about travel. It was all kinds, and she just wanted to watch the game, but. to think about where she was at the start of this year and then to go all the way to the final. And Sabalenka was just a monster and tough to beat on the day. But shout out to Jessie Pegula for going all the way to the women's final, to U.S. Open, and having a ridiculous summer. She's 15-2 in her last 17 matches, and the 2 losses were to Sabalenka. So she is
like
playing
how the Mavs ended the season.
Tremendous tennis.
That's good. Shout out to Mark Stein. That is your tennis report here on DLLS Mavs today.
If it was up to me, there would be one every show, but I'm guessing it's not up to me.
We call it TNNS.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. With no E and no I. I see what you did there.
That is good.
But shout out to Lively. He's been making his rounds throughout the summer. We'll get to him more in just a second, but it was cool to see him and Klay Thompson hanging out together in New York this weekend, but also the joking moment that they had with Stephen Curry. I'm imagining what Stephen Curry's year is going to be like now that his Splash brother is no longer with him, and that him and Draymond are now, the elder statesmen in Golden State, but also Klay Thompson getting acclimated with his teammates this past weekend. It seems like making the rounds as well.
I mean, Steph Curry could come to Dallas.
I don't know if there's room for Steph here, Tim. How would you make that work?
Yeah, you're kind of like a souped up 6-man, maybe.
Is anybody acclimated yet to the idea of Klay as a Maverick? It still
feels foreign a little bit.
Reaction is very natural because it
feels weird still.
That November 12th game at Chase Center is going to be something.
Yes.
To see Klay go in there.
We'll have boots on the ground for that game, too.
I will be there.
Yeah, we will have boots on the ground for that for sure, because that's going to be a rocket scene at Chase Center. We were talking about Dereck Lively just a second ago. Dereck Lively also working out with his former Duke Blue Devils this past weekend as well at the Duke Pro Days that they have, where the current players that they have also work out with current NBA players. And Dereck Lively has some interesting things to say about what he's been working on. Tam, if you could throw that first one up there about what Dereck Lively's been working on this summer. Quote, I'm just trying to be more dominant when it comes to the paint. Strengths, definitely number one. Working on my handle. I want to own the paint before I can shoot threes. I got to be able to conquer and control the paint, end quote. And, of course, Mavericks fans saw last year he made the 3 in the NBA Finals, got all excited about the idea, well, maybe this could be a part of Dereck Lively's game. What is your reaction to hearing what Lively's been working on, some of the things that he can expect from his game to grow this year?
I just love the way he talks. I've got to be able to conquer and control the paint. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's a sick quote. That's a really good quote. And it's smart. Like we talk about how Lively is mature beyond his years in so many ways, ways that are more important than just, playing basketball. But I think that's a very mature way to look at it. If he wants to, every player shoots threes. Every player practices threes. He's going to keep doing that. But I think the areas for growth are, he still has so many areas and so many ways he can improve at what he is already good at. If he adds threes, if Dallas runs a few plays for him here and there, that's one thing. I don't think that it needs to be his focus right now.
Yeah, I agree. He was 75-80% from the restricted area in the regular season, which is very, very good. But he was below 50% from inside the paint, outside of the restricted area. That's a lot of little bunnies, little turnaround shots. And in the playoffs, he was just 1 of 10 on those shots, and that includes 2 for 10 on hook shots. And so not everything is going to be lob dunk. Not everything is going to be a putback layup. Not everything is going to be point blank. You have to have some touch. There's a guy in the locker room that I'll shout out. I'll sing the praises of Dwight Powell on this one. Mm-hmm. Early in his career, Powell was in the low 70s from inside 3 feet. Then he became like the league's best finisher from inside 3 feet for many years. Again, it takes touch to finish off the glass. It takes touch to get the shooter's bounce, especially on hook shots where you're not entirely sure where on the court you are. Or am I 4 feet away? Am I 6 feet away?
Yeah, it was like a running joke that he would never finish an and one.
Yeah,
yeah,
and but that kind of thing matters, especially if you're going to shoot 50% from the free throw line.
100%.
You got to finish that and one, because then it becomes a 3-point play as opposed to maybe getting 1 point. And those points matter. So he definitely needs to improve there for sure. But obviously he's off to a great start.
Lots of Lively on Twitter last couple of weeks. Good for this show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Before we go to break, Tanner, you throw that last quote that we have from Dereck Lively too. Also talking about the target that the Mavericks have on their backs, because this team now is going to be facing the best shot from every team this upcoming year. Quote, it just makes you kind of want to get that much better, because we're going to have a target on our back next year, so we're going to be better and show the world what we can do. End quote. Dereck Lively talking about getting better in the target that the Mavericks have on their back this upcoming
Mark,
year.
how many 20-year-olds have you covered that talk with as much just like confidence and everything as he does?
I mean, last year, what he went through, I still can't believe it. I mean, I have 2 kids who are basically the same age, and so like to see Lively thrown in, really from day one. I mean, opening night, he played so well in the preseason that they wanted to start him, and then the Mavericks themselves said, he's 20 years old. Let's take a little bit of pressure off him. It lasted a half. By halftime, they were like, no, go back out there. You're starting. He had the best opening. He and Wemby, he had the better opening night.
Yeah, he outplayed Wemby, truly.
He just, with everything, I mean, you cannot overstate how difficult just life has been for this young man for the last decade plus, and just what he's dealing with off the court is unspeakably difficult. And yeah, I mean, he's a remarkable young man, no question.
Lively's maturity on full display this past year. Looking forward to a big sophomore year from him this upcoming year. Coming up next, we'll finish up Around the Mavs with a couple more news and notes and our question of the day. Whose call is more goated? Kevin Harlan's good or Mike Breen's bang? We got some differing opinions that we'll have to get into here on DLLS Mavs. But before we get there, Bobby, talk to me about becoming a diehard here at DLLS Sports.
Yeah, first off, shout out Robert, shout out Brian, shout out Daniel. They all became diehards overnight. I'm surely fired up about the Cowboys' big performance, but all DLLS.com/diehard. You can sign up today to become a diehard member. We'll send you a physical card in the mail, but less than $7 a month gets you access to our entire site. You can save 20% off merch, 20% off of future events, tailgates, tickets to games, and all sorts of stuff that we got coming down the pipeline. And it also gets you a free shirt, Tim.
A free shirt?
I know you're a big shirt guy.
I own more than one shirt.
Me too.
And I would like to add another one.
And you can never have enough shirts. Whenever you sign up to become a diehard, you get a free shirt. It pays for almost half the membership. So go ahead and do that right now. You can also join the
shirts
Discord.
That you don't wear get lonely.
Probably. They need a home.
Yeah.
We need to find
so
these
maybe
shirts.
You can't have too many shirts, but this is DLLS shirts. They're going to be your new favorite. They're never going to get lonely.
Save a shirt. Become a diehard today.
Absolutely.
You should put that on a t-shirt.
We should.
There you go.
Also, I'll have my Western Conference tiers on the website tomorrow, and if you're a diehard, you can read it.
Looking forward to that. So
yeah, I got 5 key stats coming out on Thursday as well.
Look at all this written and premium content that you can get
Absolutely.
by becoming a diehard member as well. A lot of cool stuff as you get, like we talking about the Discord as well. A lot of great conversations happening in there, including the conversations that we're about to have before we finish up today here on DLLS Mavs. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports on YouTube. Like the video right now and let your friends know to join us here at DLLS Sports as we finish up our show today. A couple more things that we didn't get to around the Mavs, including from our guy Mark Stein, some news on an ex-Dallas Maverick and one Davis Bertans.
Yeah, this is actually the kind of story that I love. I mean, on one hand, it's like very minor NBA news, but on the other hand, it's got a lot of layers and it's pretty interesting, especially if you have a fondness for international basketball. So the Warriors invited Davis Bertans to come to Golden State, not just for one workout, basically to come to town for the next couple weeks to basically audition for a training camp invite. And the Warriors did a very similar thing last year with Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay came to the facility in September, participated in a lot of the pickup games and drills, and the Warriors did end up inviting Rudy Gay to camp. He didn't end up making the roster, but they brought him to camp. The Warriors wanted to do the same thing with Bertans, and Bertans said, yes, I will do it. I will come to town, and because remember, once Labor Day passes, the gyms all over the league. Practice facilities are buzzing with drills and pickup games and all the rest. And then a team in Dubai has put what I'm told is a multi-year deal on the table for Bertans. It's got some conditions with NBA outs that would let him come back to the NBA down the road. And so we know you hear Dubai, you know it's going to be significant dollars.
Cash, yes.
So Bertans is no longer...
Lucrative.
There you go, Bob. That's a good word. There you go.
Bertans is no longer going to take the Warriors' invitation. He's going to do this deal with the team in Dubai. What's interesting about it is Dubai is obviously not in Europe, but it's in the Middle East. But they are playing this season in the Adriatic League,
Oh wow! Okay.
And
Okay.
they on the roster of
Which is
this
Greek, right?
I believe that's just a
Multinational.
a European competition that involves
Okay.
teams from all over. It's the Euro League is the main European competition, and then it's one of the smaller club competitions in Europe. But also on this team is a player from Luka's national team who I've never met him. I've only watched him on TV, but I love it. Prepelic. I love his name. Love every time the guy makes a tweet. Prepelic.
Yeah.
Great name.
Isak Franco described him as Slovenia's Tim Hardaway Jr.
I'm about to say he was a 3-point
Yeah.
sniper. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
so
him.
I love that
seen
dude
him
just
play.
because of his
Yeah.
name. And so he's
an
also
enjoyable
on.
man
He's
to
also
watch.
on the
Dude,
squad.
they're
with
gonna be
yeah,
just
they are going to be launching.
bombs away from
the
threes
threes all over
and
the
over
place.
and over
Yeah.
again.
But
They got to go sign Charlie Villanueva.
if you're a soccer fan like me, we've watched teams in Saudi Arabia just throw huge offers at all manner of really high level soccer players.
Yeah.
Ronaldo.
Yeah.
I mean, and so you've been wondering in basketball, could this happen as well? Because the basketball leagues in Saudi Arabia or Dubai, they can't compare competitively to top level basketball in Europe. But you just been wondering, will we start to see teams from that part of the world throw huge cash at
'cause they can do
NBA
it.
players? We see it in China. We've seen a lot of former All-Stars go to China, but would this start to happen? And
We've seen it happen with
this-
golf in terms of the live and in terms of what they do.
This is kind of one of the first examples in the NBA.
And this
Very
is
interesting.
the type of player it would be. It would be your fringe fringe roster guy, someone like Davis Bertans, who clearly can still serve a role on a roster, but is not
Very
was a free
limited
agent.
one.
Will we ever see like jumbo offers to when LeBron's contract expires, like that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing
think
because a lot of the teams in that part of the world they've got the budget to it. Surely the offer will happen in the near future. The question is, will a player take it? And again, even Bertans taking this deal, it surprised me because it's like, do you want to go to camp with the Warriors and give yourself a chance to make their team? Maybe you have a great couple of weeks in September, you get a training camp invite, and you play so well that the Warriors want to keep you, but.
Or you take all that cash that you're going to get from overseas.
He clearly made that call.
Yeah, interesting because we've seen Patrick Beverley. He got a multi-million-dollar deal to go play, I believe, in Tel Aviv.
He's in Israel, yeah.
in
Not below
Israel.
Tel Aviv.
So we've seen some players start to maybe, again, fringe maybe players in terms of what we're talking about here. But it is interesting that there's a ton of cash in terms of other sports as well. We talked about, with soccer, golf as well, with, Live Tour as well. So there's a lot of cash to be thrown around. And Davis Bertans said, you know what, I'm going to go take that money and continue his career there. So before we finish up today, I got a question for all of you, and Tanner's got real thoughts on this too. And I want you to know in the chat as well, because I was going through, we know the NFL season is back. So we've got a lot of our favorite NBA broadcasters who are doing NFL games as well. So for Tanner, his guy Ian Eagle, back, doing this thing with NFL on CBS. Kevin Harlan doing the same with the NFL on CBS. So I went down the rabbit hole last night of, listening to Mike Breen, of course, his famous bang call, and of course, Kevin Harlan, his famous good call, right? So I had the question, I had to pose in the chat. I want you to answer the question too. Whose call is more goated? Now, Mark has already kind of recused himself of this discussion.
All of those gentlemen you named, Mike Breen, Kevin Harlan, Ian Eagle, I love them all. And so I you're asking me to choose between.
Who's your favorite child?
Yeah,
Exactly. He can't make a pick.
You're asking me to choose the unchoosable. So you guys take this one away.
Okay, so I'm gonna just go down the line.
So I'm just getting outnumbered here.
Well, maybe not. So I'm gonna try to do the calls themselves.
Okay.
me. Good. That's the Kevin Harlan one.
Okay, that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad.
Is that pretty good? Okay.
Yeah.
And then bang. Was that pretty good? Maybe does that work? No, maybe
That
not.
was good.
Maybe
That
not. Okay.
That was
I
funny.
enjoyed that.
Okay. All right.
I think you really have
You had
the
the
good now.
Enjoy that. I got. I mean, we are fellow
really
Kevins,
have-
so it does work.
You really have that one down.
You're welcome, Tanner, for your clip today. By
But
the way.
I'm still a Bane guy,
Oh, there's that clip number 3. There it is for Tim Cato today. Shout out to you.
I'm just nothing can top that to me. Especially like I'm pretty sure there's a Wikipedia page for the number of times he has said bang twice.
I think this
Like-
only happened like 6 times.
Right.
I think.
He's starting to get a little more
have
generous.
And
that
Luka has
type
one of those.
lore.
Yeah.
Luka has one.
Yeah. The
So-
Steph Curry.
It's more
the-
than 6, but the number is definitely out there. Like somebody has actually counted it up.
Yeah, because the two that immediately come to mind is obviously Luka's in the bubble
But-
against the Clippers.
There are
and-
8 of them.
Oh, there's 8 of them. Okay.
Even though I
He's done
said
it
I was
8
recusing
times.
myself, can I just throw one thing in here just
sure,
for context?
For sure.
Isn't Kevin Harlan's more famous call "No Regard for Human Life"?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. That's,
With no regard for human, I can't do it. I
Oh,
can't even.
you should have went with it. It looked like you felt it. You should have went with it. You got to go with it next time. You got to go with it. But that is a great one. The one that comes to mind is the one that LeBron dunking over was a Kevin Garnett against the Celtics. That's one of them for sure. But yeah, I'm going to go with, personally, I don't know if you guys agree or not, but I personally go with Kevin Harlan's good. I got to stick with the Kevins.
Yeah, I mean-
it's like, it's so good.
Tim
It's
can
so
identify as a bang guy, but I like to identify as a good guy. And
that's good. I like that.
Okay, so I like what can I can I sit on the fence here?
Good guy.
No riding the fence, Bobby.
Okay, well,
no,
so
pick
I,
one.
I think Kevin Harlan there's so much venom in the good when it's a road guy getting hot and the
Yeah.
home crowd
yeah.
is just so demoralized. Like, dude scores like 10 points in 2 minutes. You're like, he's on fire. Oh my god, and he's good. It's just
he had
like,
some good Jimmy Butler ones in the playoffs a couple years ago.
yeah, but I think bang is good for home teams. I think good is better for road teams.
So you think
Interesting.
okay? To
Yeah.
differentiate for
Yeah,
the
because
road
the good.
and home.
I when I think of I think a lot of like Dirk on TNT era with Kevin Harlan calling like the late games, like Dallas at Phoenix, Dallas at LA, and Dirk gets it going, and Dirk is like just got the snarl look on his face, and the tongue is coming out walking down the court, and Harlan's just like, good,
Quick shout out to my dear friend Charlie Saturday, a Bucks fan, by the way. So
Oh.
that's how loyal he is
Nice.
to show up in the DLLS Mavs
All right,
chat
Charlie.
room. Charlie Saturday is one of the greats.
Shout out
And,
Charlie.
shout out to
and,
Charlie.
Charlie.
Love seeing him in our chat room.
Saturday, great
Said
day.
Harlan
Great
had
day
an
of the
iconic
week.
call when Pau Gasol yammed on Kevin Garnett. Yeah, definitely not me as a KG
So
guy.
the bang bang, the double bang, that everybody
Yeah.
remembers.
Yeah.
At
That was
least
really
the one
good.
that.
Thanks.
Yeah, the one that stands out to me is it's the stuff shot from like 35 feet.
against the
in-
Thunder.
Oh,
Against the
he
Thunder.
lost his mind.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
He
and
straight up
that's-
lost his
and
mind.
That's why, that's one of the greatest calls I've ever heard because there's a franticness to it. Like his voice is almost cracking.
breaks
on
character.
Yes.
Yeah, he is like.
I covered that game, so I did not get to experience the TV broadcast.
I
amazing.
watched it on my
It was amazing.
phone.
That's like a where were you
and
moment for me.
Yeah.
Was at a party and sprinted around outside in the front yard when he hit that. I think Austin was
Can we
there.
fact check that he was really at a
I think
party?
Austin was
Can we
there.
fact check that?
were you invited?
Clearly,
I've got my
look, he
ways.
was running
I'll give you
around
my
when he
ways.
saw the shot happen. What's the
Shout out
chat got to
Maple
say, by the
Mountain.
way, Tanner? What's the
Yeah,
chat got to
does
say?
anybody in the chat believe that he was at a party?
I know, we
Come
gotta
on.
find out.
I do. I believe you, Tim.
Let's see.
I believe myself as well.
From Charlie, he's got to go with Mike Breen's finals bangs are tough to beat. Yeah, when Mike Breen hits you with an NBA Finals, bang, that's pretty, the demoralizing effect. You're right there. From Leonardo Hernandez, Harlan is the better caster, but the bang hits different. That could go on a T-shirt. The bang hits different. Any of those, please continue to throw those in the chat. So Bobby is a Kevin Harlan.
I think I like the good more. It's just so like because Kevin Harlan just turns up, like he's just letting it all out there.
When he hit the good, when Jimmy Butler went off, I think it was against Boston. He had hit one like when the shot clock was running down, and he goes, "Good, Jimmy freaking Butler." I'm just like, "Hey, yo,
Dude, that was amazing.
it was that good?
That was so good.
Am I?
you
Kevin-
really do have this down.
Dude, do you want to call games?
No, I do not. I like what I do right here. This is
Okay.
good for me. This is good. This is good for me.
That was really
He's got to
good,
keep
man.
this train from
scary
veering
good.
scarily off track.
Mark's
he
like,
doesn't,
please,
he doesn't have
stop.
time for play by
This
play.
is
No,
off the
yeah.
cuff.
Can you
man.
do a follow-up?
Oh no, I
can
can't
you
do a
do
follow-up.
Luka
no.
Magic?
No, I don't even want to.
What is Followell's most iconic?
Oh, that's a great one.
Because Mark does a really good job. He switches it up. He doesn't. He doesn't have like it's.
He's so
always
in the moment
inventing
for each
new
one,
ones.
yeah.
Tower of Power, but he's like Tower of Power. Like he's so deep with it.
It's so.
Tanner's
good.
gonna have fun today clipping this show. He's got so
Yeah.
many drops for today's show. Okay,
Oh,
we got our
Just the,
votes.
I mean the iconic one. That is Luka Magic.
Yep.
So yeah. Yep.
That's it for. Wait. Is it, you got anything else?
What an ending of the show.
That was great.
Yeah, no, we're good. Take us home.
All right. Look, I don't know how to end it. Someone's going to end it there. That does it for us today here at DLLS Mavs. For more of our impressions, come back with us tomorrow at 12 p.m. here on DLLS Mavs at DLLS Sports. Appreciate our guy Mark Stein hanging out with us today as well. He'll be back with us tomorrow again at 12 p.m. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports on YouTube. For Mark Stein, Bobby Carrella, Tim Kittle, I'm Kevin Gray. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 p.m. here on DLLS Mavs. We're out. Bang.
We all silly like the mayor.